And a second signing that we had is Raya, David Raya, and he comes back into the side after Ramsdale um, played in midweek, and everybody was really like excited about Ramsdale's performance against Brentford. I was as well because I felt like he's either going to be Ramsdale or he's going to be Runnerson. Either he's going to be full of energy and life, or he's going to be absolutely damaged. Who knows? Um, and he came out looking like himself. But Raya comes back into the side, and I wanted to read some of these stats because I put them in the group chat, and when you see the stats, it lines up with your eye test if you've been kind of like, okay, yeah, this Raya signing makes sense. So just Ramsdale, I'll do like the main ones. The high claims per game is 0.17. Raya's high claims are 2.25 per match. So that's a pretty big gap. In terms of passing accuracy percentage, Ramsdale is 66.47%, and David Raya is 83%. So that's a pretty big jump there. And the accurate long passes for Ramsdale is 24 out of 79. So yeah. And Raya's at 30, 30 out of 54. And the touches per game, like Ramsdale's touches per game is 35. Raya's is 50. So those are just a couple. And I don't even want to go into like minutes played and like clean sheets and stuff like that, because we know that some of that stuff is, just because of who we played and stuff like that. But in general, those stats line up to what I've seen. Feel like Raya is calm. He's more accurate with his passing. I think he saves more than he should, where Ramsdale doesn't save what he should. So like Raya seems like he's somebody like the goal the chance that Bournemouth had at the end of the half. That is a goal. Like it should go in, but Raya saves it. Maybe Ramsdale saves it. I don't know, but it just feels like we weren't getting enough of those early on in the season. It felt like absolutely everything was going in. And so, I know that some people feel like Arsenal have made a mess of the goalkeeper situation. Personally, I think that this is something that we needed to look at. What is your feeling on when you're watching Raya play, when you're watching Ramsdale play? Does it feel like there's a difference? Do you feel like you're seeing the calming? Are we gassing it? Are we reaching? Or is it actually something that you feel like you see as well? Because I feel like it's very obvious, but other people are like, there's not a big gap between the two. And I'm like, for real? Because I see a gap. What do you think?
Do you know, I'm a confess to say, until you sent those stats, I did not appreciate the gap was that big. I think at the end of last season and a couple of those games last season where we gave away the points, where we just basically gave it up to City, I think Ramsdale is at fault for a number of those particularly the Southampton one, where he just like some of those ones I think he got away with quite a lot last year because we were playing so well. And although obviously the sample size is quite small, the one thing that has always frustrated me about Ramsdale is his concentration when we are dominating a game and whoever it is scores with like the first attempt on target, which just changes the whole vibe, particularly when we're at home. I can think of so many examples where we were like maybe 2-0 up, we're cruising, opposition gets one attack, one chance, and it's in. And it's maybe 50-50 whether he should have saved it or not, but he doesn't. And that for me is just not helpful for a team that is looking to challenge for a title, that we have this lapse in concentration when we should be 4-0 up. The high claims thing I think is really interesting to me. That is a stat that I had not appreciated. That gives me, if I look at the two, I'm like, Raya is clear, and that is really important for us because it brings a calmness to our box where we have previously been a little frantic. We've given a lot of goals away from a set play, and some of that I think has been a lack of understanding between the two centre-backs and Ramsdale. Is he coming or not? Because I feel like sometimes he's kind of come halfway and you're like, either you've got to come and punch that or you've got to stay on your line. And I feel like a few times, I feel like one of the Man United goals last season, the little, I can't remember who it was who scored. It was like a really weird header,
Yeah.
but Ramsdale's like halfway out and halfway in. I think the thing that we all kind of that sort of gets in the way of our perception is that people feel a lot of love for Ramsdale.
For
You
sure.
just feel that emotional sense of loyalty to him. That he is, he is very pro Arsenal. He's come out. He's talked extensively about how much he loves it, and he's very passionate. He loves winding up the opposition fans. It's very easy to warm to him. But this is not about making best friends with the goalkeeper. It's about having one that's going to win us a title. So those stats are quite telling, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
Just I've seen a lot of people saying I feel bad for him, and I completely agree. But the pass accuracy, the way that Raya he's just more involved in the kind of game, and you can see I think a little bit more confidence when we're playing out from the back, and also Spurs aside, his distribution is much better. It was a little frantic last week, which I think came with the kind of atmosphere and the way that Spurs press. But for teams that don't play in that way, I think Raya is the better fit for us. It's just yeah,
It's one of those, isn't
yeah,
it?
yeah. It's just one of those that, and also teams do that. I don't think this is kind of like brand new news that a goalkeeper suddenly loses his place. Like we've done it before. We saw it with Leno. If we're going to be ruthless, great. I'm absolutely here for it. It needs to be justified, and I think swapping them in and out, giving Raya a bit more time, great. I'm here for it. But whether that's disruptive to the team or not, I'm not sure. But given that I've just spoken for about a minute and a half about whether I'm not sure or not, I don't know. It's a tricky one, but the numbers don't lie, right? The stats that
Yeah.
you've gone, that is what we need to assess on. It's just with the added kind of like emotional. I can still picture Ramsdale like giving it to that Spurs fan last year, which for me, that's what
It
you
was
want to see. But
amazing. Yeah,
I
it
also don't.
was.
I also don't want you to concede within a minute at home every time there is a threat. So
No, I want my
no,
clean sheet. I don't want to have a heart attack. I'm not trying to
yeah,
get more Botox.
I, I just
So,
yeah, I want a calmness. I just don't want to see that. I want to live a peaceful life. That
like, it's so true. And like, I don't know. I feel like we've always asked Arsenal to be ruthless. Always, always,
hmm
always. Like, we need you to be ruthless. But it was easier for us to accept the ruthlessness when Arteta first came in because a lot of the players that he was being ruthless with were not good and we did not like. So it's like, of course, like be ruthless with Mustafi and Socrates and Kolasinac and all these guys. Like, look, I don't like him.
Oh
But
man, we have
now
suffered when you say those names. We have
Oh
suffered.
yeah. Oh yeah, because when we get to the next two, like you will feel it because we're gonna talk about Gabriel and Saliba, and I really do think we need to sit down and like really talk about how like blessed we are to have those two back there. But yeah, like from here on out, I've said this like a million times. It's gonna hurt every single time that we move a player on or, you know, are ruthless with a certain guy because we love all these people. Like seeing Tierney at Real Sociedad is not fun. Like it is not fun. I don't like it. It doesn't feel right. I'm like, what is he wearing? That's not
Yeah,
red and white. That looks so weird on you. What are you doing? And so it's like, yeah, it's gonna feel weird because Arsenal are doing things that are ruthless with players that we like, but it's just the game is the game, and we have to get better. And as long as Ramsdale is able to perform, it's fine.